Yo, what is up Yu-Gi-Oh house? Welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all are all having a fantastic and blessed day. I recently went to locals and took it down 4-0 with one of the most exciting decks in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and a deck that I've been aiming to play for quite some time, Phantom Knights. We didn't just run any old Phantom Knight deck though, we tried out the powerful new Horus engine that debuted in Age of Overlord. This Horus engine adds a ton of consistency, removal, and card advantage to a deck that had been lurking in Rogue for quite some time, and I genuinely think that this is a tier 2 to potentially tier 1 strategy in the hands of the right player in such a diverse format. I'm here to spill a little bit of the secret sauce and let y'all know what we've been cooking in the kitchen, so if you guys enjoy, remember to smash that like button, comment down below, and subscribe, and let's jump into this. Starting off with the Phantom Knights engine, I played 3 copies of Silent Boots, 3 copies of Ancient Cloak, 2 copies of Torn Scales, and 1 copy of Ragged Gloves for the monsters. I also run 2 Fog Blade with 1 Rain to round off our package. Most people will immediately question why I'm running 3 Cloak and 2 Torn Scales as opposed to the opposite, but the answer is really quite simple. The deck is basically using your entire hand as discard fodder or extenders during your combo, so I wanted to have the best cards to see in the graveyard at higher numbers. Cloak allows you to either find Silent Boots or Torn Scales itself, so you're basically guaranteed to have 2 level 3s hit the board, and as we all know, that's a full combo right there with the adventure package. This engine not only sets up at minimum 1 Fog Blade and a potential pop off Rusty, but gets you into your full adventure line by making Cherubini, making this 12 card package extremely efficient. The adventure engine is fairly self-explanatory at this point, with me running 3 copies of the Water Enchantress, 1 of the Wandering Griffin Rider, 2 Rite of Aramasir, and 1 of each of the Dracoback and Fateful Adventure. While you do have guaranteed access to this engine if you dump Enchantress off of Cherubini, having 3 Enchantress gives you another good card to discard for your Horus engine, but also gives flexibility to what you can actually dump with Cherubini, setting up another potential Fog Blade to your end board. This package is insanely strong going second too, as it will contest usually 2 forms of interruption, with Griffin trading for anything and Dracoback being able to bounce any problematic card back to the hand. Being able to access this before committing to your other engines, especially going second, can help make quick board of problematic endboard pieces, including things like Floodgates, but beware of Droll post side, as that is really the only hand trap that we cannot play around. The next engine is the engine that breaks the deck wide open, and that is our Horus engine. We run 3 copies of Imseti, 1 Duamatef, 1 Happy to go alongside the 3 copies of the King Sarcophagus. This package is deadly and was honestly the strongest part of my deck the entire night. Imseti can pitch itself and any other card in the hand to the graveyard to find your King Sarcophagus and draw a card, going hand neutral. This allows you to then use your King Sarcophagus up to 4 times per turn to Foolish Burial your other names, and these cards all have good summoning conditions and not effects to special summon themselves from graveyard as long as you control the King Sarc. These monsters also have incredible effects, with each monster having a trigger if any card you control is removed from the field by an opponent's card effect. Imseti has a non-targeting send to the graveyard of any card, Duamatef will draw cards equal to the number of Horus monsters you control, and Happy will either shuffle back or add to hand any 2 cards that are banished or in the graveyard. This pairs incredibly well with King Sarcophagus being another form of removal, as if any of your Horus monsters battle any of your opponent's monsters, you can send that monster to the graveyard at the start of the damage step. These big beefy level 8s create an insane grind game that also double as a rank 8 toolbox depending on your matchup. To sum it up, as long as King Sarcophagus stays on the field, you're usually winning in card advantage versus your opponent, and as we all know, that is the name of the game. The last sub-engine that I run is a package of 3 copies of Cashier Fenrir, which is honestly a staple in this current format. I wanted to load up on cards that either go hand neutral or plus, and Fenrir does exactly that while also sticking one of the strongest cards in the game on the board. Fenrir alone can test boards going second, but having a free discard or searching another copy of itself is huge for your Horus and adventure engines as well. Whether this is going to be linked off in order to make IP Masquerena or sticking around as another form of disruption, Cashier Fenrir feels pretty necessary in a deck that is going to pretty much use its entire hand turn 1. For my one-ofs, I had 1 Foolish Burial and 1 Reinforcement of the Army. Foolish is incredibly good as it just represents full adventure combo, or even dumping another Horus or PK name should you need it. Rhoda, however, actually felt slightly underwhelming last night, and it was a card that I sided out every single time going second, not just because we don't want to play directly into Droll, but because we typically had access to the PK engine regardless because of a card like Zombie Vampire. While both of these cards are great consistency cards, I'm not sure I'm going to continue running Rhoda going forward, and it might be something I experiment cutting from the deck even just for a little bit to see how it goes. For our non-engine, we run strictly defensive cards in the main, being 2 triple tactics talents, 3 forbidden droplet, and 3 infinite impermanents. We can't really afford to lose anything in our opening hand, so playing into tactics game 1 felt suboptimal, and it also felt really suboptimal to be playing a bunch of hand traps. The ease that this deck has breaking boards with these cards, plus the Fenrir and Adventure Engine, felt ridiculous. I resolved only 1 single hand trap for my side deck all night, and it never felt necessary to run more, which means that opting for board breakers in a deck like this felt really good. Tactics is of course the ultimate Swiss Army knife for the deck, and droplet is honestly super cracked. Being able to pair it with Imperm means that you can activate Imperm to target a monster, and then immediately chain Droplet, sending the Imperm and other cards from your hand to negate even more, allowing you to fully break boards going second with complete ease. Our extra deck is fairly standard, but there is one change I'd make here. Last night I ran 2 copies of Breaksword, 1 Leviair, 1 Evil Swarm Nightmare, a Hope Harbinger, a Zombie Vampire, a Dingirsu, as well as Typhon and Zeus. All of these cards came up except for Leviair. The card never really felt needed, as Happy kind of gets you farther in the grind game over something like a Leviair. Even though it's dependent on your opponent in simplified game states, Happy is simply much better than this card, and I honestly think we can cut it. Other than that, all of our Xyzs perform beautifully, with Dingirsu being the secret spice that I don't see many lists actually running. The ability to just remove the last card from the field you maybe couldn't attack over or remove is huge, and backing this up with something like Typhon is even better, but also the destruction protection that Dingirsu gets is really huge as well. Picking off problematic floodgates and the last monster for almost free when you're using Dingirsu and Typhon felt really strong. The Zombie Vampire is amazing at making your combos go through, getting names into the graveyard, or reviving any monster either me or my opponent milled. Nightmare is the rank 4 of choice to make after popping Breaksword, as Double Book of Moon is fantastic in a format that pretty much every top deck is Link, Xyz, or Synchro Summoning. All of these cards just felt fantastic last night, and depending on what I was playing against, I would cater what my end board looked like based on what my matchup was, which felt really strong with a deck that's this consistent and this good, even breaking boards going second. Our Link monsters are extremely standard, with Dark, Cherubini, IP, what should be and will be SP Little Knight, Rusty, and Underworld Goddess rounding this package out. I didn't even have Little Knight last night, and I was still able to take down every single opponent. Only one time did I end up making IP, and I didn't even use it to go into Azalea because I didn't feel it was worth it. This Link lineup is super strong, giving you the chance to set up your turn 1 boards, and even having a card like Underworld Goddess to out something like an X-Pearly Noir. Overall, I don't think there's anything else you should really change here. Something like Access Code Talker could be something you consider, but the deck doesn't really have problems finding game because the Horus engine is just that strong, and we even have other options like Raider's Knight going into the Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon if that's something that you're looking for as well. My side deck was definitely trying to be catered to the wider meta, but I actually didn't really resolve a lot of these cards last night. I ended up running 3 Droll, 3 DD Crow for my hand traps, 2 Cosmic and a Feather Duster for my back row heavy decks, 3 evenly for both back row decks and larger combo boards, and 3 Teekaboo for decks like Purely, Flu, Spright, Unchained, and even to a certain extent Vanadium. I resolved DD Crow only 1 single time last night and resolved evenly only once, meaning my side deck didn't even do that much to help me win. These cards are all really good, but other than Teekaboo, you're not typically siding a lot in going first, and going second your deck is already so efficient at board breaking that you're really only switching out cards for more back row heavy matchups, and things like Flu or a deck that might have you under Shifter, meaning that Forbidden Droplet won't be very good. Other than that, I think these cards are all fantastic in this format, and even something like a 1-for-1 trade in DD Crow felt good because playing around something like Thrust is a little necessary for some matchups, and even though a card like Tactics still exists, you can't beat every single card that counters your deck, and we're really trying to limit our chances of playing into those types of cards and losing things in our opening hand. So that is going to do it for the deck profile today. Unfortunately, there's not really a standard combo that I could show you that's not going to look like a 3 to 4 card combo, because the deck is incredibly non-linear and really does use all of the gas that you have in your opening hands. If you guys are interested in seeing some test hands to show you how the deck kind of works and what a typical end board would look like, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I will be glad to throw that video together for you guys. Overall, I think this deck is incredibly powerful, and if you're looking for a way to test out the Horus engine, this is definitely the deck that I'd recommend, as it is incredibly explosive, incredibly fun, and incredibly resilient. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Stay blessed, Yu-Gi-Oh! House. Peace, y'all.